Hello and welcome everybody back to this series of conversations with guys I consider some of the boldest, most successful and inspired men I know. Today's guest is Craig Ballantyne. Welcome, Craig.
Hey, thank you so much, man.
Craig and I have known each other over a decade. I know, time passes. Craig came up in the world as an expert in fitness, very well-known author. You've written for a ridiculous number of magazines. You launched incredibly successful programs on fitness, muscle building, and all that stuff. And you've moved on. And one of the things, he's become really fat and slovenly. No, I don't mean, he hasn't moved on personally. He's moved on professionally. And one of the themes that's really come up in a lot of these conversations, Craig, is guys really need to listen to their gut so that they don't get stuck in what they've been doing for too long and start losing their mojo and losing their lust for life. What happened with you? How did you move? You were really successful. I mean, you were one of the most successful guys online around fitness. How did you shift out of that?
You know, it's funny is I never really wanted to do it. I mean, I loved working out and I loved writing about it, but I don't love teaching it. You know, if you want to do an interview for an hour about workouts, I'd be like, no way, man. I'd lose energy that way. And so I was always looking for the way to do what I really wanted to do, which was, you know, in my gut, I wanted to help people not only improve their health, but also improve their wealth and improve their personal development, become more productive, all of this stuff. And I just had to naturally evolve over time to, first of all, become successful in one area, which was fitness, then go and coach other people to do that, to help build their wealth, and then to coach them to become more efficient with their time, which I did. And that just evolved and evolved and evolved. And so I was able to step fully out of the fitness a couple of years ago to doing what I really want to do, which I just get jazzed up about all day long. So it's very analogous to what so many people listening to this are saying. You know what, right now, maybe I don't like my career. Maybe I like my career, but I want more money. Maybe I like my career, I want more freedom. Maybe I like my career, but I know there's another level. I know there's a greater impact and influence I can have on the world, and that will also bring me greater income. And I was once like you. You know, I knew what I was doing was good, but I knew that I could take it to another level. I knew there was a 10x version of me inside, and I decided to make the leap. With not a big leap, you know, with totally risky, but I slowly and conservatively built my way up. And now I coach people do the same sort of thing because I've done it and I've helped so many other people do it.
Yeah, and can I mention your high-end coaching?
Yeah, for sure.
I just want people to understand that Craig has a coaching program that's $50,000 a year, and you can imagine what his customers, your clients, are making. If they're paying 50, they're obviously making a lot more than 50. Just by coaching with you. And the reason I wanted you on this, among these group of men's leaders, because boldness and inspiration are our big themes. And you have, I don't know if it's a good word, attacked work life with a boldness and a rigor that so few people I know have done. And you've created something called the perfect day formula. You know, I'd like to actually have the perfect night formula, but I think I know what that is. But
right. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's why it's like people always say, "What's the perfect day formula?" And they say, "Is that when I sit around, you know, drinking margaritas in a hammock all day?" And I say, "No, that's my other book, The Margarita Day Formula, which is slightly different, a little bit shorter."
Now and then. I just had one. I'm actually in the Caribbean right now, and I just had one of those days on Sunday, and you know, consciously, by the way, had to stop my mind. Like I had to stop thinking about the summit, my work, all the cool stuff I'm doing. And I said to my girl, I'd say, I'm just going to listen to the water and listen to the palm trees clacking above my head and feel the breeze. And that was my practice for the afternoon, like, stop working.
Yeah.
So let's get to stopping working. But first, let's talk about, you know, you've been really innovative on getting guys to be, let's use the word bold, but really courageous and consistent and effective with something called the perfect day formula. So would you tell the guys what that is?
Yeah, and so I think this is a really good place for me to merge my past life and my current life in terms of my career. And so I built my name in the fitness industry by deconstructing long workouts and showing people how to get more results in less time. And so that's what I've been about that since day one, even when I was a kid. Like, how can I get more out of less? And so I did that in the fitness industry. And then I realized over time, as I became a successful entrepreneur, that hey, this needs to be done for other high-performing individuals because when you get a little bit of success, you start becoming overwhelmed with opportunity. You get asked to do a whole bunch of interviews. You get asked to partner up with people on projects. You get asked to write books. You get asked to do videos. You get asked to do all these things, and you have to say no eventually. And we also have so many distractions and temptations in life, from social media to television to, late nights with our girls, all that sort of stuff. And some of them are the right decisions, and some of them are the wrong decisions. And so I've just been showing people what I call work-life mastery using the perfect day formula. And now some people are probably thinking, well, this is going to require me getting, joining some 5 a.m. club or something. And that's ridiculous. I like to go out till midnight or 1 o'clock. If there's anybody from like Argentina or Spain listening, they're like, hey, I get in at like 2 o'clock. Don't tell me you get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. So listen, it's not about that. It's not about the hour that you get up. It's what you do with the hours that you are up. It's not about the hour that you get up. It's about what you do with the hours that you are up. And so I've just built a formula that helps people have really great focus, become more productive at any hour of the day, designed around their schedule, their preferences, their biology, so they can become the highest performing versions of themselves.
I like that. Secret confession. I hate people who post that they get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to work out. I secretly hate them because I have no desire in the world to do that.
No, and it's not like, listen, man, my life is my life. Someone else is their life, and there's no point in having a pissing contest about what time you get up or what time you go to bed or anything. Listen, just go and live your best life. But once you know what is right for you, don't make any apologies for it, and figure out, how can I build the systems so that I can live life truly the best way for me, the best man's version of my life, and then go for it.
I love that. Another word that's been coming up in a lot of these training programs, these conversations we've been having, is that word systems. People classically have thought about inspiration as, well, I have to feel inspired, meaning I have to feel motivated in the moment. And that's sort of inspired goal. We replace that with inspired systems, like set up a system that inspires you and then live the system. So what are like three, we're going to, by the way, give a link. You have a free book called Perfect Day Formula. We're going to be giving a link of that here at the end of the talk. But what are some tidbits people can get? What are some of the three really key elements of making sure that you maximize your workday?
Yeah, it's a great question. And just before I jump into that, I just like this analogy, this acronym of system. It's save yourself time, energy, and money. That's what systems are supposed to do. Save yourself time, energy, and money. And so one of the things that most people mess up on is they wake up, whatever time they wake up, whether you're an early bird like me or you're a late riser, you get up and you go, oh, I should make my to-do list now. No. You're already too late if you're making your to-do list in the morning. Yes. Because you're using up valuable energy. You're using up a valuable time when you have the greatest intention and willpower and discipline is in the morning. That's when you need to be doing your most important stuff. So you have to go and do your planning the night before. The more specific and more detailed you can plan your evening the night before, the better you are going to rock and roll. That is absolutely essential. That is so key. Look at that. What do you got there? Is that your plan for the day?
That was every night before I go to sleep.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. So I've got a whole routine around planning the night before so that you get up and, you hit the ground running. And when you do that and you have a block of deep work first thing in the morning, which would be the second tip, a block of deep work, no distractions, very clear and focused for 15 minutes to 90 minutes, that is going to set you ahead. That is going to make a huge, huge difference in you being able to have success. And then finally, the third thing that everybody needs is, again, it's not the to-do list sometimes, it's the not to-do list. It's knowing your distractions, knowing your weaknesses, and figuring out, okay, how do I block those things off? So if your weaknesses are, Facebook, okay, well, what can I do to stop Facebook? Well, there's extensions that you can use for Chrome or Firefox that you can download for free. There's there's freedom.io. You can Facebook at certain times. You can do all of these things. You can remove the app from your phone. You can remove the notifications. You can do so many things that stop you from getting into trouble. Because as I like to say, Adam, that an extreme example is an alcoholic, right? An alcoholic is trying to stop drinking. Man, I can say the Serenity Prayer 6.5 days a week. I can drink water 6.5 days a week. I can, do all the things right 6.5 days a week. But if I go into a bar on Friday afternoon after 6.5 days of perfect living, I'm screwed, because it's that not to do thing. Don't go into a bar. Don't go into a bar. Don't go into a bar. Oh, I just went into a bar. That's going to ruin everything. And so that's what we want to focus on. Identify all those things that we should not do that are going to hurt us more than anything else can help us, and then find a way to block ourselves from getting into trouble.
Yeah, that's clear. I mean, Facebook is definitely one of the biggest temptations during the day. What would you say is the most surprising element of your perfect day formula? What are people most surprised to find?
I would say, that's a good question. I think I've actually given most of the surprising things, that it's not about the hour that you get up. It's also making sure that you're doing your preparation the night before. I'm kind of rambling here to try and figure out another surprising thing.
Let me ask you, while put in the back of your mind, and let me ask
okay.
you, what have you had to say no to? Like, how have you gotten no's out of your life?
Well, here's one thing: is I'm as distracted and tempted as anybody else, which is why I get up so early, because there's fewer distractions and fewer temptations, and you do have more discipline and willpower early in the morning. And I want to write. I'm a writer. I write articles. I write video scripts. I write sales letters. I write all these things. And if I can write from 4:30 till 6 o'clock every morning, I can get 1,500 words done in 90 minutes. But if I try to do that 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'd be screwed. And so that's what I call magic time. And maybe this is a surprising thing, is that everybody has a period over the course of the day called magic time. It might be an hour, it might be 2 hours, it might be 3 hours at the most. But it's a time of day when you're 3 times more productive than any other time of day. You have energy, you have creativity. Maybe it's 10 o'clock at night for all you night owls. Maybe it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Maybe it's 10 o'clock in the morning. Or maybe you're like me, it's really early in the morning. You're just like, I am in the zone. I'm in the focus here. Well, the problem is that most guys are giving up that magic time to something else. They're giving it up to meetings, to phone calls, to email, to temptations, ESPN.com, whatever it is, right? And so we just need to block that off. We need to identify the magic time and then block the magic time for your number one priority, for your deep work, for the unique ability that you have that can really move you ahead in life. And when you're able to do that, even if it's 15 minutes at a time, preferably 30, 60, 90 minutes, you will move ahead. And so what I have to do is I have to fight the same distractions as everybody else. And so I have a four level system for keeping me off my iPhone. First of all, I put it into airplane mode. I turn it off. I put it in a desk drawer in another room. So those are 4 things I have to do. And sometimes I'll get all the way to the point where it's me and the airplane mode button. And I'll be like, slap my hand and be like, put it down, get back in the other room and go to work. And that's what you have to do.
I put it in a chastity belt and then I put it in the drawer.
There you go. You go.
I don't fuck around, literally, with my iPhone. By the way, I love your book, and I always say I have attention surplus disorder. People have attention deficit disorder.
Yeah.
Surplus, which is I pick up everything. I just pick up things consistently all around me, energies, information. I see metaphor. So I have to really put on blinders. And I know your work. And so what I do is one of the no's I put into my life was I make 0 appointments and I never pick up the phone before 1 o'clock. Basically, I have a scheduling system. People can call me from 1 to 5. It's open. And I want to talk to you about how you break up the day into the 3 C's, because that's another brilliant thing I love. But I don't talk to anybody until 1 o'clock because I know my magic time is the morning, right? So I set my time for writing. And what I do is I don't get up at 4:30. I only semi-hate you because I said 4 o'clock. You said 4:30. So. Well,
I get up at 3:57, so I can be up before 4 o'clock.
Well, that's awesome.
And then I do a little bit of stuff before I start writing.
I love people at 3:57. I hate the ones that get up at 4.
So right. And I don't work out at 4 o'clock either.
Good. But what I do is I get up, and when I'm home, I travel a lot. But when I'm home, I get up and I go straight to my hot tub. Now, people might think that's weird, but I live on a mountaintop, and I get into my hot tub with a pile of books, of the most inspiring books. And I never know which one I'm going to pick up because I'm reading a few at a time. And then I'll literally read in my hot tub with a pad next to me, and ideas just come to me. and I make a list, and then I go inside, don't talk to anyone. I download the thinking, the writing from the targeted reading. So I fill my mind, right, with the kind of inspiration I want for that day. So I'll just pluck whatever I want. And of course, The Perfect Day Formula is always one of those books I always take with me.
Oh, awesome.
But, and then that's my time. And then the no is I don't speak to anyone until 1 o'clock. So people know they can't get in touch with me. My kids can. But other than that, that's my big no. So this is great. Like before we get on to the 3 C's, which is something I just love people to hear, because it's one of the things that really clarified for me that I'm okay, because, a lot of us who work on our own, I can't figure out how people go to work and are at peak performance all day. I mean, people go to 9 to 5 or some kind of job. Like I'm done at 1 o'clock with that brain. And then I'm good for answering emails, checking, doing bank stuff, handling customer service, like that kind of stuff. But I don't really have that high creative force. And I want to talk about how you break up the day. But I want people to know something. It's not like you've always been this super performer. Tim Ferriss, who's probably a friend of yours as well, everyone knows him as another avatar of effectiveness. And that guy has really suffered from serious depression all his life. He's very open about it, right? Very open about it. He had to deal with it. You've had severe anxiety. So I'd love for you to say something about, how that's affected your life and how you navigate that.
Well, I think I, stumbled into it because I'm very wound up, very straight-laced, and kind of hold a lot of emotion inside, and type A personality. And when you have all that in place, very impatient person as well, that, all things that I've been working on over the years.
You just
that kind
your dating profile, by the way. That was it. That's your dating profile.
Right. Yeah. Very straight-laced. I like to shut down on people. Women love this. And so, combine that with being a young guy, living in a big city, partying and working all the time. I mean, I had no boundaries in place, and I suffered from what I called the paradox of freedom. Mm-hmm. And some guys might be wondering, well, I would love to have the paradox of freedom. What is this paradox of freedom? And I like to use the analogy of Mike Tyson as a person who had the paradox of freedom. He had no boundaries. He was surrounded by yes men. He had no one saying no to him. And because he had that, he spent $300 million. There was nobody saying, no, Mike, you can't buy the tiger, Mike, around him. And he went through $300 million and went bankrupt. Now, in my life, I was working 12 hours a day. I was young, I was successful, I was making good money through my internet business. And then I would also go out 3 or 4 times a week, drink a lot of caffeine the next day. And I'm very sensitive to caffeine. I ended up having basically what felt like a heart attack for 6 weeks straight. I had tingling from the top of my head down to the end of my fingertips. Wow. I had tight chest, elevated heart rate. I couldn't breathe. And that was in 2006 when I was about 30 years old. And eventually I broke down. I was like, I got to go to the hospital. So I went to the emergency room twice over that 6-week period. And both times they said, listen, you're okay. And they gave me some tests. And the second time they sent me home with a heart rate monitor and said, bring it back the next day. And then when I brought it back, they said, hey, listen, we'll call you in 24 hours if there's anything wrong. And they didn't call me. And as soon as I realized there was nothing physically wrong with me, that set me down the course of recovery. I was doing a whole bunch of stuff as well. I was doing yoga, Tai Chi, meditation, Qigong, all of this stuff, which I hated all of it. But it taught me how to breathe properly, slow down, become a little bit more patient. And over the years, I've taken up meditation. I do a little bit of yoga. I've just slowed down, read a lot of Stoicism. That really helped me with the comparison syndrome and all the envy and, wanting all this stuff. And so maybe mellowing a little bit with years, getting out of your 30s and into your 40s, I've slowed down enough where I don't have the anxiety anymore. In fact, I really didn't have it after about 2007. And now I'm just able to operate freely, and I don't get the anxiety attacks, don't really even get anxiety, because I put the systems into place to help me maneuver around the things that caused it for me in the past.
That's a great story. I didn't realize it was that severe. It's a really interesting story.
Yeah, and some of the other things I learned along the way are you need to get out of your own head. So even if you struggle with mild anxiety or stress, it's probably because all you're doing is thinking about the problem. You're not sharing the problem with anybody else. You're not asking for help. And when you do that, your wheels are turning faster and faster and faster. And that's how you end up in a state of anxiety. It's really based around a lot of fear of the future And listen, there's no point in worrying. You need to go out there, talk it out, whether it's with a therapist, with a friend, talk to your dog, just talk it out. And then also get out of your house, get into some sunshine, some fresh air. That's also helpful. And then probably another thing that's at the level of talking it out is focusing on other people's problems. Hey, listen, I'm feeling anxious right now. What if I went and helped my best friend with something? What if I went and volunteered at a soup kitchen? You know what? I'll probably get rid of anxiety if I focus on serving others. And so those are some of the steps that I'm helping people with. And I'm actually writing a book on overcoming entrepreneurial anxiety. That's my next book, because it's something that I've helped a lot of people through. And it's a pet project near and dear to my heart, because I know how frustrating it is. It's a black box. You can't explain it to yourself. You can't explain anxiety to somebody else. Everybody's just really confused. And I want to help people navigate through it.
I really love that. You said so much. I want to go back a little. I love this about getting out of your own head by helping other people out. You know, I'm putting in a new fence, by the way, this month. And I'm going to need some help painting. So,
yeah, I'll send somebody by.
All right, well, that's helping. All right, so you said a few things, and I want to go back to this. You said something about the comparison syndrome, comparing to other people. Well, one of the keys of being inspired, one of the 3 modes of being inspired, as I teach you to talk about it, is being inspired internally to do what means something to you rather than being called to sort of compete with other people. So how do you find center? How do you find what's important to you? How do you identify what's really you and what's, just coming in from social comparison?
I do a lot of thinking on that, and a lot of reading through the Stoicism, a lot of reading of history, realizing that, hey, we're the classic speck of dust in the course of time. Like we really are pretty insignificant when you think about it. Even Elon Musk is going to be, just a footnote in history one day. And so it's like, okay, listen, you're not going to be the richest person in the world. You're very successful. Everybody listening to this is within the top 4% of income in the entire world, on the entire planet. If you make more than $40,000 a year, you make more than 96% of the people in the world. Okay. Research shows maybe you need 70,000, maybe you need $110,000 a year to be happy. And everything else above that is like play money. So, stepping back going, okay, listen, really at the end of the day, what's the worst that could happen? That I could have to go home and live with my family. Well, I love my family. So the worst that could happen would be amazing if I had to live with my family. Okay, great. So now, without all these handcuffs of comparison syndrome on me, now I can go and listen. You said something very early in the introduction about, listening to our guts about what we really want to do. Okay, now knowing my skills, knowing who I want to help, knowing the impact I want to make on the world, here's what I can do, and here's where I'm going to go forth. Here's where I'm going to draw the line. Listen, this is what I'm going to be doing in 20 years from now. I know it from my heart that this is my vision. I work with people in my workshops to create their vision for their future based on their values, because when you know your value and your vision, that drives every decision. Again, when you know your values and your vision, it drives every decision. If your value is family first and you're working 13-hour days, you got that mismatch. And misalignment causes a lot of stress. So we line that up and make sure that everybody's acting in accordance with what they really want to do in life. And so I think about this all the time. I'm an introverted person, and so I'm the type of guy that thinks about stuff, whereas the extroverted person is just out doing stuff, and they're like, wow, whoever thinks of this? And I'm like, I do. And so that's the type of stuff that I help people with, and it's the stuff that just naturally comes to me to think about where I want to go.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. I like that. Your values and vision affect every decision.
Yeah.
I think that's what you do in your coaching. You said a few things I want to also mention that are very important. You mentioned Stoicism. For people who aren't really familiar with that, it's a Greek mode of thought. The names most associated are Marcus Aurelius, of course, his Meditations, which are still the most amazing, it's probably the most amazing book ever written. He was the emperor of Rome and just wrote down his thoughts every day about what his values were and his vision of how to live, and they're still incredibly relevant. And Seneca's essays, they've had a resurgence the last couple of years because of Ryan Holiday's books.
Yeah, and Tim's really into Stoicism as well.
Tim Ferriss' books, but yeah, Ryan's books are great. Like Ego is the Enemy is fantastic.
And he has the Daily Stoic, so there's daily quotes and stuff in there. My favorite book, which you haven't mentioned, it's this little book. It's called The Art of Living. It's by a woman named Sharon Labelle, and it's a translation of Epictetus, who was a Stoic philosopher. It's a small book. It's like the Tao Te Ching, and you basically you read a page per day. I recommend people read a page per day. It's probably the book that I buy the most for my friends. And every morning you're going to read it and you go, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I needed today. It's just like, you mentioned the books that fill your head when you're in the hot tub. You're going to be like, oh, this is like, it's almost like your horoscope. And it just shows up at the right time, reminds you about perspective of things, about perspectives of externals. And it was actually that little book, The Art of Living, and a quote from Epictetus that led to my 3C formula that I based my entire Perfect Day Formula book off of.
Good segue.
I know. I always like to bring it around and wrap it up in a bow.
And you know it, and I can see you're prepared for your Tim Ferriss interview. The book I've given to the book I've most given to my friends. It's one of his most common questions he asks on his podcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you're ready. You're ready for your question.
I am.
I love it. So let's talk about that 3 C's, because I thought to me that was like I said, it was meaningful to me personally because it made me feel like not such a loser in the afternoons. So part of your Perfect Day formula, I'm serious, the 3 C's formula. So hit us, man.
Okay, so the 3C formula in my book is control what you can in the morning, cope with what you can't control in the afternoon, and concentrate on what counts in the evening. And I'll get back to that in a second. And it overlaps a new book by Daniel Pink. You've heard of Daniel Pink, right? He has a new book called When, which is like the scientific secrets for when to do everything. And he talks about how in the morning we have the greatest intention and willpower. And then in the afternoon, we go through a natural energy trough, is what he describes it as, which is what you're experiencing. I experience the same thing. All I do in the afternoon are phone calls, podcasts, interviews like this, because I'm all written out. I can do great interviews, but I'm all written out for the day. And then he says in the evening, we have a small resurgence, a small wave of energy again in the evening where we are creative. And so that was interesting. He just wrote that book this year, but my book came out a few years ago based on that 3C formula, which I found from Epictetus. And so Epictetus's quote, or translation of his quote, is control what you can, cope with what you can't, and concentrate on what counts. And when I read that from Epictetus's translations, I was like, oh my gosh, it was like the weight of the world fell off my shoulders, because, it's just I was thinking about the externals. That's what he calls them. You can't control the externals. You can't control if it's raining out. You can't control if there's traffic jam. You can't control if your boss is angry. You can't control the emotions of your woman. It's just like that's going to drive you insane trying to control that. But what can you control? You can control your thoughts, words, and your deeds, your actions, how you respond to things. If you get angry, if you fly off the handle, that's not going to make anything better. So you can control and be calm. It takes work, but you can. So I then thought, you know what, this sounds really great for the times of day. Control what you can in the morning, because if you can control your morning as you do, Adam, with making sure that you don't take the calls and you focus on filling your head with good information and you do your hardest work first thing in the morning or in the morning time, everything's going to be so much easier. So control what you can. Control your morning, and you're going to own the day. The second part is, hey, in the afternoon, the poop's going to hit the fan. Everybody's going to have deadlines. They're going to bring their emergencies to you. The kids are going to get sick. You're going to have to pick them up at school. All these things are going to happen by the afternoon. And you know what? You can't control those things, but you can cope with them. You can cope with them by thinking ahead. Okay, you know what, something's going to happen in the afternoon. I need to, schedule out a block of time for these emergencies, the known unknowns. They're going to come my way, but I don't know what they are, but I just need to plan ahead. Or you have obstacles like, man, I want to stick to this nutrition program, but on Thursday I have a meeting from 12 until 5, and then at 5 I pick the kids up, we go to soccer, then we go to ballet. I'm not home until 9. Well, you could either go, well, I'm going to go to Carl Jr.'s, or you can go, I'm going to plan ahead for this. So you cope with the chaos. And then finally, we do all of this work, have all of this discipline, do all of the planning, get everything done so we can concentrate on what counts at night. Whether that's your children, whether that's your hobbies, whether that's your health, whether that's your relationship with your girlfriend, your spouse, whatever. We are doing all of the work in the day so that we have true freedom at night. Not the paradox of freedom where you have too much freedom, you get yourself in trouble, but you have true freedom at night, that you've won the day. And that's the 3C formula.
That's beautiful. It's a great quote by, I think it was Sartre, who started one of his essays. He said, man is free, and that is his anguish.
Right. Everybody thinks, oh, I just want to be able to be free and do whatever I want. But if you gave people that freedom, eventually they kind of freak out because they wouldn't know what to do. Most people don't know what to do with themselves. They'd end up making bad decisions. And so we actually need this structure in our life. So I started saying structure equals freedom. And then Jocko Willink has a saying that discipline equals freedom. And it's true. It's true. And Paulo Coelho, the author of The Alchemist, he says it better than both of us. He said, discipline and freedom are not mutually exclusive, but mutually dependent. Because without discipline, we would sink into chaos. And that's what happened to me. That's what happened to Mike Tyson. That's what happens to so many people, to Johnny Depp, to Prince, to all these rock stars and movie stars that just get, now you can do anything you want. And when you can do anything you want, and I mean anything, you get yourself into a lot of trouble.
Justin Bieber's a great example.
Another one.
Story ran into him, the whole story there. But you still have your tiger. So at least you have that above.
Right.
Mike Tyson. He lost his tiger, but now you have discipline. This is great, by the way. I'm just your energy is amazing.
Thank you.
Says afternoons are your low energy time. I really feel like I think everyone's feeling your passion for the subject. There's so much good material. I want to hit one more thing, which is important. Which is we've talked about this before. You cope through their anxiety. You've got huge ambition, and you tend to be a systemic thinker. So you came up with what you call the 5 pillars of changing habits. And like, to me, in the work that I do, being able to change your habits of thought and your habits of action, it's everything. It's everything, because we're running on automatic processes. 95% of our life. I don't know the exact formula is, but there's Gabor Mate. You might know Dr. Gabor Mate.
Yes, I saw him at Genius Network last year. He's amazing.
Amazing, right? And he had said this thing that really affected me. He says, because we're running on old programs, we're actually not present in our lives. We're actually missing everything. We're missing being in the moment because we're running through the strategies we developed as little kids to deal with life. So changing habits, for me, changing those old mental habits, and of course the action habits that come out of it, to me is essential for success in dating, business, fitness, personal development, emotional depth, spiritual development, intellectual rigor, everything in life. First, you have to really encounter your habits, and you've got a great system. I think you call it the 5 pillars. I wish you'd say a word about that as well.
For sure. And so I didn't actually come up with them. I found them through my weight loss transformation contest that I used to run in the fitness business, and it was a mind-blowing discovery back in 2008. But here's the thing. I also used to do YouTube videos back in 2007, and I sound like a monotonous robot. I have very low energy. And I use these 5 pillars to build in a new operating system for myself to have high energy. Like, I can go, like in most conversations, I talk like this, man, and I don't really, this is like, I don't know, this is not really that exciting. But I built this new system based on the 5 pillars that allowed me to change my success habits when it comes to having great energy on calls. I can turn the switch on and off just like that. Very much like Tony Robbins talks about priming. Our good friend Jason Capital does this stuff as well. And it's really, you can go and deliver performance and then roll back right into a very introverted person. And most people don't know this about Marlon Brando, but Marlon Brando was really not, he just really didn't like people. He was very introverted, and he eventually moved to an island in the South Pacific because he just didn't want, he liked acting and he liked being alone, but he didn't like having to deal with fans. And you hear about these people, oh man, that Hollywood actor, he's a real jerk. Well, just because he's a Hollywood actor doesn't mean he actually is an extroverted person. He's just an actor. And so that's the way I look at things now, is this is a performance. And yeah, I would love to have a great conversation with everybody listening, but on a regular basis, I'm more like, just not really that exciting. And so I actually even have a YouTube video on how I do this. But back to the 5 pillars. So I ran weight loss transformation contests for 10 years. And we had 30 contests, and people had to write an essay. They had to do the before and after photos and then write a 300-word essay on how they changed mentally over the course of the 12-week program, plus what program they used. And what I found was the people who would win the contest, who would lose 30, 40, 50 pounds in 12 weeks, they all had 5 things in place. And the people who would drop out after 2 weeks, they would be missing 1, 2, 3 of the pillars. And I was giving away good money, like $1,000 I think it was even more than $1,000 to the winners of the contest. And I was like, how can you drop out after 2 weeks? And it's because they didn't have these things in place. And they go like this: better planning and preparation than ever before is pillar number 1. Pillar number 2 is professional accountability. This is like having a coach or a mentor. Pillar number 3 is positive social support, which are the cheerleaders in your life. Pillar number 4 is a meaningful incentive. And pillar number 5 is the big deadline. So let me dive deeper. Can I dive deeper into each one of those?
Absolutely. They're ringing.
Okay, great.
Let's do one at a time. Those are good.
Great. So we'll look at each one of these in the context of weight loss, overcoming anxiety, and becoming a better speaker, and even finding the love of your life. So pillar number 1, better planning and preparation than ever before. Now, most people, they wake up on January 1st and they go, this year I want to lose 10 pounds. This year I want to find the woman of my dreams. This year I want to get rich. Those are not plans. Those are wishes. You know, they're so abstract. You have an entire year. You know, you're not going to get started on them today. I'll wait till tomorrow, right? So what you need is better planning and preparation than ever before. So the people that come into my weight loss contest, it's not like they hadn't tried to lose weight before, but this time they planned out every workout. They used my system. They planned out every nutrition program or meal that they were going to do. They were like, I know what I'm going to eat on these days. I'm going to have one cheat meal. I'm going to drink this much water. They had better planning and preparation than ever before. When I had anxiety, I was like, okay, well, now I need to put boundaries in my workday. I need to stop hanging around these people. I need to come up with a system so I have energy without caffeine. I need to stop drinking. I need to plan around this stuff. If I want to be a better speaker, well, okay, what I need to do is watch my old videos and figure out what can I do to be a better speaker here. I'm going to go and watch Louis C.K. and see how he segues from joke to joke. I'm going to go and watch a pastor and see how he brings the energy. I'm going to go and watch Tony Robbins. You know, I watch all these people. I mean, it's great. Like one day I'll be watching like, one of these young high energy pastors, and the next day I'm watching Dave Chappelle. And both of these people are giving me amazing education in terms of how to be a better speaker. And then, with the love of your life, well, okay, let's figure out what the heck you're looking for first. Where are you going to find this person? And then you go on and you make the plans for achieving whatever you want. The second pillar is professional accountability. It is having a coach in your life, a mentor. That coach is going to give you 2 things that nobody else can give you. First, expert advice. Expert advice. That's what I was delivering for the weight loss. That's what you deliver for guys looking for the wife of their dreams, so on and so forth. The second thing is no holds barred accountability. Because if you come to me and say, hey, I missed my workout, I'm going to sit you down and go, all right, tell me why you missed your workout and what you're going to do to never miss another workout again. Right. But your friends, the people in the third pillar, your positive social support, they would just say, don't worry about it. You'll get it tomorrow. Now, you need those people. You need the positive social support of like-minded people to lift you up when you're feeling down. But earlier I described them as the cheerleaders in life. And it's, imagine you're running a marathon. Well, first of all, you're going to need a coach. You're going to need professional accountability. And then you're going to need people on the side of the road going, you can do it, you can do it. They're not the same. They're 2 different pillars. Fourth pillar.
Before we go
Question?
Before you go to the fourth, there's something you hit something. One of the things I wrote down, which I really want to underline. Because people talk about accountability, but I've never heard anyone say professional accountability. And in the work that I do with men and women who say, yeah, I really want to find someone to fall in love with. I want success with women. I want to meet that guy. And I say, well, is it as important to you as your profession? And my question is always, why do you give attention and investment into your professional goals and not to your personal life? Why don't people, and I'm curious what you think, by the way, before we go to number 4, why don't people treat their personal life with that same professional accountability as they do their professional life? Because our personal life is actually more important in many ways, because professional life without personal life is pretty empty, right? So I like the fact that you added the word professional accountability.
Yeah, and the reason why I added that is because it actually comes from a research study. So there's a research study from Stanford in the 90s that showed that when people were trying to lose weight, if they were accountable to somebody that was a professional, doctor, nurse, trainer, they got better results than if they were accountable to a friend. So that's why I call it professional accountability. Right. And the thing, I don't know why people treat their professional stuff better than their personal in terms of the accountability, but I know this. There's actually a secret ingredient to the secret ingredient of accountability. So accountability is really, really important. But the thing is, I hired you. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to go and get Adam's help and change my life. But what if I really didn't care about disappointing you? Then the accountability doesn't work. And so here's the secret ingredient to the secret ingredient of accountability. You must be accountable to someone that you deeply do not want to disappoint. You must be accountable to someone that you deeply do not want to disappoint. And when you have accountability, I mean, it's like thinking about having, if you have a big brother and you love that big brother and you're like, I never want to let my big brother down, or my best friend down, or my brother-in-law or my father, I'm never going to let that person down. Well, then you're going to go to the ends of the earth and do what you say. But if you hire a coach and you're like, maybe, it's like, it's a couple $100. I'm going to hire this coach for a call, and you know what? I'm just not going to do it. It's like, okay, well, then that accountability doesn't work. So it has to be accountability to someone you deeply do not want to disappoint. That's the secret sauce there.
Thank you for that. That's great. We'll talk more about, treating your personal life like a professional beyond this interview. It's something that I talk about a lot. And when the summit's over, I'll talk more about that. So
yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, because it makes me crazy. Because people say, yeah, I want to meet somebody, but okay, so here's how to do it. Well, I don't know about that. Well, here's actually what works.
Right.
And for example, this is for women. I teach a very simple system to actually get the guy they want, which is to lay out character first. I'm giving my secret insight for women. Women don't do this. Make a call to character first, then offer reward. Men don't care about who you are. They don't care about your interests in the beginning. They care about whether they're going to win with you, right? This formula works. So treat it with professionalism. I have information for men as well, but I don't want to get off topic. I want to stick with your work here. The fourth pillar of changing your habits.
Yeah, it's a meaningful incentive. And so when I first started, I thought any old incentive would do. Remember, I'm paying people in my weight loss contest to lose weight. I'm giving you $1,000 to lose weight. Why wouldn't you do it? Why wouldn't you stick past 2 weeks? And it's because it wasn't meaningful. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. It's much like that accountability. If you aren't worried about disappointing somebody, it's not meaningful accountability. So the meaningful incentive has to come from your heart. And so when I read these essays, the people who would lose the weight, stick to it, through the toughest circumstances, were people that were doing it for their kids, their spouse, their health, so that they'd be around in 10 years. Yeah. Those people would stick through the tough times. The people just doing it for money or a new pair of jeans, after 2 weeks, they're like, man, this is tough. I'm going to go sit on the couch and eat a pizza. I really don't care if this guy gives me his money. And so it has to be a meaningful incentive for you to change, whether it's finding the love of your life, whether it's becoming a better speaker, whether it's overcoming anxiety, whether it's losing weight. You need to have a meaningful incentive. So you have to think about that one a bit. And then finally, the fifth one, the fifth pillar is the big deadline. The big deadline. I always put it in capitals because it is so important. And the big deadline operates in 3 ways for us. First of all, it spurs us to initial action to overcome the initial inertia. Remember, we go back to January 1st, somebody wakes up, I want to lose 10 pounds this year. Well, they got a whole year to do it. That's not a deadline. It's so abstract that they'll put it off, because that's our stupid human trick, is to procrastinate. So when we say 21 days, 60 days, 90-day deadlines, well, now it's all right, time's ticking. I better go take some action. So it gets us going. Second of all, man, when we have those tough times after 2 or 3 weeks or 4 weeks on the program, we're starting to get a bit of results, but not the massive breakthroughs. It keeps us going. We see the light at the end of the tunnel. We think, I'm 4 weeks in. I'm going to go the next 4 weeks. I'm halfway there. Light at the end of the tunnel keeps us going. And third, as we get closer and closer and closer to the deadline, we move faster and faster and faster. Like, when you run that marathon, you might not actually run faster in that last mile, but it goes by quicker because you're like, I see the finish line. It's right there. I'm going to go. And so that is what we need to do. And here's a really great example of how powerful the deadline is when, anybody in business who's ever offered a sale, the sale ends at midnight. You get most of your sales, a third, maybe 50% of your sales in the final 8 to 12 hours, because humans love to procrastinate. Right. And so you have to have a deadline in there to get you going, keep you going, and make you move faster to the end. And when you have these 5 pillars in place, you can plug and play whatever habit you want to change, whatever success you want to achieve, and you can have it all.
Beautiful. Craig, you blew my mind, man. That was the most information practical hour I think I've ever recorded. I've been recording with guys for a long time. I really appreciate you taking time out of your coping loser afternoon trying to get shit done and dealing with annoying things like interviews. But fantastic. You really did an amazing job. You super over-delivered, which I guess is kind of your brand, right? Perfect Day Formula. We're going to get everybody a free copy of your book at Inspired Man Summit / Perfect Day. So Inspired Man Summit / Perfect Day. Grab Craig's book for free. And when they get the book, by the way, what's the one, like, you know, as you and I both know, people, I mean, we have a friend, Frank Kern, right?
Yep.
Frank Kern, kind of a legend in internet marketing. I remember he said years ago, he told me this story where he created this huge $2,000 product on internet marketing, how to make money online. And this was back before digital stuff. And he had CDs. It was a CD set. And he discovered after he sent them out to the thousands of people who ordered it, that they were blank, that they weren't printed correctly, and they were blank. What percentage of people returned them? About 30%. Most people never freaking open their package. And I also know a lot of people in infomercial land. I've done a couple of infomercials. The running estimate is that about 25% actually open what they order online, what they offer off of television. So people often get a book with high intention, they get a package with high intention, they get a program with high intention, but they fucking don't do anything with it. So what is your top tip for when they get your book? Like how can they start implementing right away so it doesn't become just something on their shelf?
You know, the most important thing to do from the book is to get 15 minutes of clear, uninterrupted thinking every morning on your number one priority in life. So imagine you had to get out of debt. If you spent 15 minutes, 6 days a week, for your entire year, that's 72 hours in a year of thinking about how to get out of debt, you get out of debt faster than ever, because most people, they just go through life trying to find time to do important stuff. But here you're making time. So you make time, you're going to make time to read this book. You're going to read it first thing in the morning. You can get it done in about 2 or 3 hours total. It's a very short book, very practical book. But then continue on with that habit of waking up and going and working on your number one priority in life. It might be overcoming a problem like debt. It might be taking advantage of an opportunity like, focusing on your dating, your matchmaking profile, whatever it is. You just focus on your number one priority every morning for 15 minutes. That's 72 hours in a year of you moving ahead in life.
Beautiful. Craig Ballantyne, thank you so much for joining us. This was really inspiring.
Thank you.
See you soon.